Good morning.
Hello, Shubham.
Hi.
Morning, Michael. Mikhail. Is it? It's Michael, right? Or is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
But in my mother tongue, it's Michael, Michu.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I wasn't. I was close, but
Yes, actually.
yeah. Wait.
Not Michael or Michael or something. Michael is good usually.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can be full-blooded American and just say Michael. Just.
That's really good. Yeah.
Nice. Very good. All right. And Kita is here with us. Give me a couple of minutes if you would. I'll grab the meeting minutes. We'll kind of get situated. There will be a couple of folks that will be out today because they are very busily working on an announcement for tomorrow, and we'll talk about that. But give me just a few minutes. Beautiful. Thank you, Shubham. All right, so we're about 3 after. If you would, if you're able to access the meeting minutes, please play along or please note your attendance, and then feel free to drop in any topics that you might have today. Ooh, wow, boy, anybody else get more than 4 hours of sleep? Am I the only one suffering?
6.
6?
8.
Oh, yeah, rub it in, man, rub it in. Usama, maybe Jekyll on Windows maybe is a good topic. I don't know. Nice. Okay. All right. Nikhil.
Yeah, I guess if Jekyll and Windows, if Ruth would have joined the call, she was also facing some issues on setting up the site due to Jekyll. Means we had a call earlier. It's and she was having some issues on starting the site. Maybe a same issue. I don't know.
Excellent. Okay. And who was it that was having that problem?
Ruth.
Oh, Ruth was. Okay. All right. Kaleche. Fair enough. All right, we're 5 after. Let's get rolling. Well, a couple of housekeeping items. One is that, well, one is that Michael, you're our lucky winner today. I think you might be the only one whose first time it is on this call, and so it's customary to have you say a few words, just kind of get introduced to the others on the call, if you don't mind.
Yes. Now?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, hi, my name is Michael. Joined a couple of days ago. I'm a technical solution architect and also did a lot of programming. Originally, I studied chemistry quite a long time ago. And right now I'm a consultant being employed at a company in Norway. And right now I'm working for one of our customers and looking at proof of concept for Console Connect. So this is sort of like my first time also working with Console Connect, and about some time ago I did work with Istio 1.0. It's quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Yes, and excited to be here. Or there, or yeah.
Yeah, right. No, that's awesome. Yeah, Michael, it's fantastic to have you. Yeah, the Istio 1.0 feels like or I guess it really is sort of a whole architecture ago in some respects. Just for Istio itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been able to follow the development, but I should try to catch up a little bit, especially now when I look at Console Connect and compare a little bit to Istio when I have time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, boy, has Console come a long way since the Istio 1.0 timeframe. As a matter of fact, I think it was Console Connect 1.5 that had come out maybe shortly after Istio 1.0. Yeah, a lot of changes. The Console Connect's doing. There's a number of HashiCorp folks in the Layer 5 Slack. Actually, the HashiCorp product manager for Console. Well, I take it back. I think that the director of product management, and then there are like 3 other product managers for Console, because there's like 3 engineering teams. Some that are focused on service discovery, some that are focused on, I forget, but one of them that's focused on the Connect functionality. And he's in the Slack. He's quite active. Very nice guy. He joins the calls on Fridays a lot of times. And so you come to the right place.
Is this Nicholas or?
Blaine. Oh yeah, Nick Jackson is
Nick,
also here. Yeah. No, he.
Nick.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a bad thing to say about that guy, and I just can't. Just super nice, just a great guy. But no, Blaine, whose last name escapes me, is also here. They're both pretty active. Yeah, they'd love to. We'll have to have some conversations. That's great. Nice. Thank you for coming, Michael. It's good.
Thank you. Nice being here.
I think I'm literally a little bit flushed. That's because I just jumped out of the shower, and not that everyone wants to talk about my hygiene at this hour, but the point being is that there's a number of contributors who are not on the call right now, but are busily working on SMI conformance. And so I'll talk about this momentarily because it's it's probably a point of interest for some of you, and for others of you, it might be a point of pride. So just really briefly, I'm sharing my screen, right? You guys can see the SM service mesh interface window, I think. And if you can't, then you'll say something. So, so many of you are familiar with this spec, but if you aren't, really briefly, it's just it's an abstraction. It's a set of APIs that allow you to interface with or allow people to adopt service meshes using one API surface and have compatibility with the service meshes that are listed here. Meshery and Layer 5 have been launch partners with SMI a year and a half ago. And since then, SMI has had a kind of a, I would say like a slow year, but the last 6 months have finally ticked up and we've gotten more adoption of more meshes. I think Kuma is also compatible. It's not listed here. There are, even though there's like 20 something service meshes out there today, I will say that by the time that this year is out, we will have seen at least 2 more announced, and these won't be small announcements. And both of those will be very prominently supporting SMI. Cool, it's good. And the reason that we're talking about this is because we've long had a project within Meshery to create a set of SMI conformance tests. So if the service meshes that claim to be compatible, these, not this one, but with SMI, how do you know that they really are? Well, actually, I'll tell you right now, almost all of them aren't. Linkerd is, or they have varying degrees of compatibility. Much of it's broken, but the point is like there are no set of tests, no tool to verify that. And so a collection of the contributors here have been working on that and building that into Meshery because you need to orchestrate the deployment of any number, each of the individual service meshes that claim compatibility, and then invoke, do a bunch of test assertions and verify whether or not, in fact, the service mesh is compatible. The service mesh at that version and at that version of SMI. And so later today, in just a few hours, we'll demo what that ability looks like at the SMI community meeting. And considering how near in proximity some of the announcements for those new service meshes are, it's a very timely thing to show off some of the work that the contributors here have done. So keep your fingers crossed that this goes through. I'm kind of pointing at Meshery, but I should be pointing at like this doc. I'll put this doc into our meeting minutes. And this talks about how it is that Meshery provides conformance testing for SMI. We had to talk about that for a minute. One, because I'm excited about it. I'm excited that some of you guys will get recognition, and because there'll be big announcements. So, all right. Any questions or comments on that before we move on? Good. Next topic, Shubham.
Yeah, highly. So I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Here it comes.
So yeah, we are planning to add a new command that is Meshery system restart. So I had my changes, and you commented that do we need to change start okay, restart.go or and system.go. So okay. So Kus has his own approach, and who is he? Kumar Abhishek said that the approach that I'm using is good enough. So like I'm still in doubt. Like I should go the way Kush told me or the way Abhishek told? Which one is right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I think like the approach that I have used is uh, good enough to be approved because we don't have a lot of changes in restart.go and system.go. And I just moved run. I will see if I can just a second. So what I did is that I just added this function which was earlier in the run e. So I just moved the code outside of run e and pasted it in a method so that we can use it in a different file in same package,
Okay. Got it.
like we are using here for stop and for start. So we don't have a lot of major changes. I just move the code in a function, and it will also help in reading the code. So
Right.
I will stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree with you that is probably exactly what we're looking for. That is necessary to do. Um, that yeah. Okay. Let me do this because I think there's enough of us on the call that have maybe a little bit of context for what is being discussed, but not all of it.
Yeah.
So just I guess briefly for everyone, some of you are familiar with the Meshery CTL, the Meshery's CLI. It's command line client, and that's interesting. And the notion that today it does really kind of two categories of functionality. One of those categories, the most prominent one that it does, where it has most of its functionality, is about the life cycle of Meshery as a tool, like standing up Meshery and caring and feeding for Meshery. The second, and that's actually what Shubham is talking about. The second category of functionality is about invoking performance tests and not doing so in the UI, which you can do, but doing so from the CLI, which becomes important because we have an agreement with any of the service meshes that you can prattle off, that they'll begin to incorporate Meshery into their release process to begin to publish performance tests. So they'll be programmatically interfacing with Meshery to run a performance test with each release that they do. Maybe each build, probably not, but probably just each release. And that's in part because we're standardizing that format. We're standardizing the how it is that you describe and capture the performance of a service mesh. There are additional categories of functionality to come to Meshery CTL, to this command line client, but they're not exposed yet. And so that's a high level. And then today of how Meshery CTL is able to, or of the commands that it has for managing itself, the system commands. These system commands mean Meshery, the system Meshery. There's a few. There's one to manipulate the configuration of Meshery, the server. Another one to look at the logs of Meshery, the adapters and the server and how it's running. One to start Meshery, one to stop it, one to see its status. I mean, these are very simple things. This update is pretty helpful, which will go out and pull down the latest version of Meshery. And then there's this one, reset. And Shubham, I don't know if maybe I downloaded and installed your version, But what Shubham is, oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. There's a reset, which will reset your Meshery configuration. If you've, there's different ways to deploy Meshery, and there's different options about how it runs. And so you can reset that configuration. But there's a kind of a convenience operator that had been suggested a little while ago. And that was in case you wanted to stop and start Meshery. There's mostly, I think this is for contributors that maybe are doing something with Meshery and they want to just like restart it with ease. That Shubham was is just describing the fact that he's been working on a new command called restart, and it more or less, is this, it invokes stop and then invokes start. So good. And so that's the code that Shubham was talking about. And what we were reviewing was just that in the PR that he has, it's just a couple of simple changes. Like a lot of times, by the way, new contributors who are working on Go, a lot of times they'll find that, or a lot of times we find that they gravitate toward Meshery CTL, this small binary, this small client, in part because mostly because it's a bit smaller and it's easier to reason over and to just kind of work on a small piece of logic. And so, yeah, so it's a good thing to introduce everyone here too. On that, if you guys have questions about the PR that Shubham just raised, you might talk to him. But Shubham, I agree. We should merge. That's what I was looking for. I understand now that you need to refactor start and stop a little bit to pull them out of Cobra's run model framework and into their own functions, so that they are separately callable from the new subcommand restart. So I think so. Shubham, part of this has probably been an education for me as well, on Cobra.
Yeah, we are learning every time.
Any questions or comments on either what Shubham has done or just Meshery CTL itself? Said that just FYI, like in the future, I had said that Meshery CTL has these two categories of functionality, but that in the future, it should be one of the major things that Meshery does is support provisioning of service meshes. And so it has that ability today. That ability should be exposed in Meshery CTL in case people don't want to do that from the UI. That ability is already exposed in Meshery Server's REST API. So it's available for a client like Meshery CTL as a client to call and invoke that functionality. So there are some design specs out there for what we think that those commands might be. And so anyway, just
one comment that I just need to change some logs. So I just need to update the PR.
Oh, I see. Okay.
After then we can approve that and merge.
Nice. All right. If no other comments, Ruth and Usama, I just tossed this topic on here because I don't know if it's something that you guys wanted to discuss. And Ruth, I don't know if this was a topic for you or not.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, okay. When I did the PR that involved me putting the image for the blog post, Michiel actually we actually tried installing the Ruby installer on my system, but we're running into an error, which I think he just told me to try it again if it will give me that error, but I haven't tried it since then though. But I've installed Ruby installer and some other stuff. And also I think Usama has done the setup for Jekyll on the system too. I think that the last discussion we had, he said something like that. Is he still here? Yeah, okay, he's here.
There he is. And yeah. Usama, any secret sauce to getting Jekyll going on Windows? Or Ruth, maybe if you have an example of the error that you were getting, we could take a look.
Okay, I'll just navigate to the repository and try running it again. Just give me a few minutes.
Okay.
But before that, I actually have some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I noticed a new label. Issue will fix. I don't know what does that label do.
Very good. That's a fantastic question. I'll start by saying within the Meshery team drive that everyone on this call has access to. If you don't, go to Google Drive and just see if you see a shared drive called Meshery. You should. Inside of that team drive, there's a process folder. Not that, Ruth, you would have known that this is there or anything. And I don't know that it actually answers your question, but if it doesn't, we should update it. So in here, in this process folder, there's a layer 5 GitHub process. And it talks a bit about issue and PR labels, some of the issue templates that we might be using and some bots that we might be using. And so in terms of the labels, we tried to, and it was kind of here recently that we've tried to provide some consistency across the 30 or 40 repos that are in the org. And I don't know if it's a point of interest to you, I'll say that in GitHub, the way that GitHub works, it's relatively new functionality that at an organizational level, and by that I mean, in our example, layer 5 IO, github.com/layer5io, that's the org name. So this is the org and it has 35 repositories. The way that GitHub works today is that at an org level, finally, and I've worked with GitHub a lot a couple of years ago on some of these things, but is that you're able to define a collection of labels at this top level, and that as you create a new repository, it will inherit these, or it'll automatically get these labels that will be available so that you can assign them to issues and assign them to PRs. Unfortunately, you can't retroactively apply those labels to existing repositories. So there's been a couple of contributors in the community that have been helping sort of manually, create these. And I would, the more active repositories that we have generally are starting to have all of these. And then, okay, so good. Hopefully that's a little bit of backstory. And then you were saying, hey, here recently, it looked like there was a new label and it was called issue/something.
Issue/will fix. Yeah.
Will fix. Okay. So I've only used this label a couple of times, and part of the reason why.
Sorry, can you increase the font? I can barely see it.
Sure. Yeah, and the screen's kind of big anyway.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Ooh, nice. All right. Yeah. So, you know, here's the very brief, like, incomplete sentence that describes what the intended use of this is. And this statement is true. Like, it's more like this issue is intended to be worked on. Like, hey, it's sort of like an acknowledgement that as a community or as a set of contributors, or like, hey, we see that issue and it looks valid, and it should be worked on. Like, at a minimum, it means that I have begun to use it once or twice because we've recently turned on a few bots that periodically look through all of the open issues or open pull requests and will manipulate the issue. And one of those bots is a stale bot. The stale bot is configurable, and I'll pull up its current configuration. Let me get out of full screen here. To say, like, hey, look, if there hasn't been activity on a given issue for a certain period of time, then the bot will make a note saying, hey, this issue looks stale. If there's no more activity in the next few days, the bot will go ahead and automatically close it. And so the way that I've used the will fix label, and so that is, the bot will automatically close it unless it has explicitly the will fix label. And the way that you can kind of look through a little bit of this to get familiarized is like between like the layer 5 repo and the Meshery repo. And I think most of them now have this same config, but if you go to the .github folder, GitHub itself treats the .github folder somewhat special. It looks for particular folder names and particular configurations. Here's the StaleBots configuration. And today, the way that we have things configured is that if there's been no activity, 45 days, then probably it's time to then go ahead and mark the issue stale. And then after 10 days, after having marked it stale, if 10 days later nothing else happens, go ahead and close it, except, yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I get the point now.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, I found a couple of issues. Like, I think I should use still issues now. Yeah, so it has the documentation label. So I think I wrote that down. 943 on Meshery.
All right.
Yeah, so like I have like three issues here that I found that look still, and probably I'll need like I want to work on them since they have like the documentation label. So probably I'll need like a run through of what the issue is about. Then there's this particular issue too that you assigned to me and Peace, but I've been it's about the clipboard, yes, yeah. I've been really confused and stuff. I've not been able to tackle that issue, and it's been a while now. So like those are the issues. Or I'll just drop the issue numbers on the chat box.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's this one. Yeah, it's this
okay.
one.
Nice. Or and yeah, and feel free to drop them into the meeting minutes as well. Like these are much yours as they are mine, and actually that goes for everything that we talk about. So okay, good. Yeah, great good question.
So I also have my GKL error. I've done the mix site and I've seen the error again.
Very good. Okay. Would you like to hit this one first?
I think we should hit the GKL first, since that was what was originally the next thing.
Sure.
So I'll just share my screen and show you the error. Yeah, so so this is it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't make site before this error.
Gotcha. And you're running. If you would, can you do a Ruby version, or maybe it's like Ruby-V? All right. So in this environment, you're running 2.7.1, and you were in the process. Okay, so I think you consider that you've already installed Jekyll, trying to build the site, but then and by building the site, you run a make site, which when you look inside the make file, you can see the specific commands that it's running. It runs a bundle exec Jekyll serve.
Okay.
Great. If you would, can you do a bundle install? And let's just see if.
So just like this,
Just like, yeah.
bundle install, enter.
Please. And like, nice. And bundler is I don't know, a gem package manager. Gems are
Okay.
and so it looks like hey, it's done. It's one-time initialization. And by the way, the directory that you're in the layer 5 directory. Check, and you're in your branch. Great, that's great. By the way,
Yeah.
nice job on the naming of your branch. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, if you do a make site one more time.
Oh, sorry. Make site like this, yeah.
Yeah. All right, good. And you can see the command like ever so briefly. It's bundle exec Jekyll serve. It's like a then as this executes. Oh, it's looking good. It's looking good.
It was like this. It was looking good initially before it came up with that error. So I don't think this makes me happy.
Oh. Okay. All right. Shoot. I'm getting okay.
So you see?
Yeah. If you scroll back up to there was an error in red. It was something like Jekyll 401 something. Please.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So Nikhil, are you on the call? It might be. There's a couple of things that pop to my mind is like things to try, like common troubleshooting things. One of those is blowing away the gem file.lock and sort of starting fresh from there.
Yeah, actually, while we were debugging, I did try that. I asked her to remove it and do it again, but it didn't help. So just now, what I was thinking was, since we are using a package of Ruby in the case of Windows, so instead of downloading 2.7 or 7.1, you can go with the earlier version, like 2.6.2, and then change the Ruby version in the gem file from 2.7.0 to 2.6.2 and try and do a bundle install before doing the mix site. If the error goes away, then we'll be sure that the error is with Ruby itself and not with our deployment.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I should try downloading the 2.6.2. Yeah.
Yeah, and Nikhil, do you think that 2.7.0 would be just about would have the same effect?
Yeah, actually, there isn't any 2.7.0. That's why I'm asking for 2.6.
Oh, I see. Weird. Okay. So a couple of things. I think that was actually going to be my second suggestion, Ruth, was that it could be incompatibility with the version of Ruby that you're running and the version of Ruby that the site is kind of expecting. And so two things. One is to Usama's question, Ruth, if you were to go back into your Visual Studio Code, there's a file in the root directory called it's the gem file. And in order to reconfigure what version of Ruby that you would like for Jekyll to use, it's just as simple as updating the text, and then saving the file, and kind of to what Nikhil had said was like running a bundle install again to sort of reinitialize your Jekyll environment or your gems. The second thing is about downloading Ruby 2, an older version of Ruby. In the environment that I generally work in happens to be Mac OS, but between that and Linux, and I'm not sure for Windows, and it may well be there, but there's a utility that I go to. It's a Ruby version manager. It's called RVM. It's this nice little utility that like lets you switch between different versions of Ruby. And I don't know if they have that for Windows or not. And so Usama,
I think I'll just search that up. Sorry, what's the name again?
RVM.
Okay, I'll search that up. Usama said he has RVM.
Nice. Usama, if you do an RVM use 2.7.0, then,
Oh, I think Nihil just sent the link on chat. Okay, so that would be all for. I can stop sharing now, yeah?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
and then if you want, we can talk about the copy to clipboard.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Then the other issues too. Or we can just allow others, like Shivam has something too, so we can just talk about this one, then maybe later on I'll send a message as regards the other issues. Is that fine?
Sounds good. So you're saying, hey, maybe talk about Shivam's issue now and then circle back?
Like talk about just the clipboard, then go to Shivam's issue, or anyone goes.
Yeah, so the copy to clipboard one. And Shivam, if you do want to talk about your issue, if you could prepare the meeting minutes, that would be great. So all right.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, Shivam.
So let me share my screen.
Oh, okay. Actually, do you mind maybe hold on 1 second if you would?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. All right. So there had been an enhancement request raised in the Meshery repo a little while ago, and it was in reference to the documentation that we have for the Meshery project. I think when you go to the docs, depending upon how you want to install Meshery or Meshery CTL, like maybe you need to run a few brew commands or a bash script. It's really kind of nice when you go to a site and they have this copy to clipboard button. And if you go to the layer 5 site, which by the way, this needs to be displaced. Like it's you go to the layer 5 site, and you guys have seen this like a million times. That like you're on some site, you're looking at some code, and it's like, oh, nice. Okay, I can just click to get that into my clipboard, and if I go paste that somewhere, like, great. I don't know why I'm explaining the clipboard to you all, but we're sort of missing that convenience operator here. The utility, the small bit of JavaScript that we used on this site, and it's actually the same one that we used on the Meshery.io site. When you're down here and you're looking to install, when you're looking to run these commands, it's we just used it's clip. It's whatever. It's this clipboardjs.com. And so that's the conceptual ask, is that you can leverage either the implementation that's been done on Meshery.io or on layer5.io as examples. These are both Jekyll sites, just like the Meshery documentation is a Jekyll site as well. And so, yeah. My And so if I were in your shoes, I would absolutely go open up the code for either Meshery.io or layer5.io and just...
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Okay. Okay. Was that what you were looking? Does that
mentioned files? Sorry. Yeah, Ruth, I mentioned the files in the comment for the clipboard.js. You can check out that. You will find the code for it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Any other comments on the copy to clipboard? Otherwise, very good. Shivam, over to you.
Okay. Hi, Lee.
Hey.
So let me share my screen first. 1 second.
All right.
So actually, about that issue, I had a talk with Nikhil, and we have solved that issue. So I just want to know one thing. Is my screen visual? Okay.
Here it comes.
Is my screen visual?
Yep.
Okay. So let me. Actually, the issue was to check whether the input URL contains a valid protocol such as HTTP or HTTPS or not. So this is how it is working now. Suppose that this is the URL I am passing here. So when I submit this form, so it will show an snack bar like this. Please check if the URL contains the valid protocol or not. Means it is checking whether the URL contains HTTP or HTTPS or not. So if I run it for this URL, it will throw this error like this.
Nice. Please check.
So one thing I just want to ask is that you have pointed out here is that the desired behavior is client-side form validation should address this issue before the user is allowed to submit form. So means I need to make change in handle submit. Means for now I have made change in handle submit function. So whether I need to make change in this function or I need to make change in handle change, because I have tried with handle change also, but what is happening with handle change is that when I just click on any text field for inputting anything, it is just calling that is snack bar, means it is throwing an error.
for every text box. So Lee, are you getting it? What I am trying to say?
Yeah, boy, that's a
So
lot.
let, let me show a brief demo for that.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's like having the application yell at you every time you type into the inbox.
Let me do it.
And so, Nikhil, and I'll have to rely on some of your expertise here to determine whether or not you're able to constrict the handle change. I guess you're. Yeah.
Now I have made changes to handle change. So let me show you again. It is refreshing. Taking a bit.
Nikhil, do you know it? Can you constrain the handle change to just a single field?
I was going to say that since yesterday we are using and condition the handle function to check for the error in the file. If you use the same condition in the handle, if it's showing the error, then also
When I will just make some text here, so it is causing this. Please check if the well contains the role. Means or handle change, making the changes in handle change. It is causing the handle error in every text field, every edit text field. So this is the issue that is causing with handle change. With the handle submit, it's working very fine. So I just want to know your view on it, whether we should do it in handle change or handle or submit. I think we should do it. We should do it in handle submit, because when a user submit the form, then only he or she should get notified.
just a second. Can you share the code that you're using? Means the
Discussed earlier.
yeah. Over here, you're using the condition that if the pattern is failing, then it will right. So basically, the pattern is checking for HTTPS. So basically,
Okay.
you can add a condition with if itself. Check if
Okay.
the URL is empty or not. If the URL is empty,
You see,
then it won't enter that.
if the URL is empty, then it won't enter it. Okay.
Basically, as the URL is empty, so the pattern is failing. And as
What I was saying is
the pattern is failing, it will enter.
I haven't got what it is.
Am I clear?
Okay, I think
It's my voice.
your voice is a bit. Are you? Are you saying this? I need to check whether the window not.
Cool. Let me, assuming that my voice is coming through okay, I think I'll be able to answer the question in a way in which will be able let us conclude, and that is that Shivam, you're right. It would be unacceptable to toss those red toaster notifications in the user's face like, with every test stepping into a field. So we can't have that. That would be a step backwards. It is a step forwards to, like the current behavior today is if someone doesn't have an accurate URL, if they're missing the protocol like HTTP, HTTPS, or what have you, in the future gRPC or NATS, that currently they'll have a bad experience. The form will submit. If it's supposed to run for a few, the test will fail. And they'll be like, well, what's going on? Like, it looks like Meshery is broken or something. Well, turns out they gave a bad endpoint, bad URL. So it is an improvement to have the check happen on submit of the test. That's a step forward. That's good. We could accept that and kind of, be in a better place. We should challenge ourselves, and I'll challenge you and Nikhil to noodle on this a little bit, or think, research this a little bit. I would be dumbfounded if React or Material UI, the things that we're using, wasn't flexible enough to let you granularly associate a handle change event to a single text field, to a single input on the form. That would blow my mind. And so hopefully that helps answer the question. I think between the audio challenges, the two of you guys will have a separate conversation to figure out if there is a way to associate a handle change to a particular input field and restrict that behavior, as opposed to it being form-wide meaning all the inputs. But in the meantime, yeah, thank you for improving the user experience, with the first step. Like, that's a good first step.
Is my voice better or is it?
No, your voice is a bit breaking up a little bit.
Okay, so
Nikhil, your voice is.
you can go to the.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So you guys will catch up offline. Shivam, I think you're good to go for now with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then.
So I should go with handle submit.
Yep. Right.
Okay.
And then you can follow up with Nikhil on, on
for the handle changes part.
Right. Nice work. And yeah, it's I gotta say, like, getting user experience right is kind of so important, and it can be such a pain in the rear.
Also, one more thing I just want to confirm is that whether we should check for both the protocols, means HTTP and HTTPS, or we should restrict the check to only HTTPS sites, because that will be more.
Oh boy, I was multitasking. I'm sorry. You said the protocols.
See, for now, the pattern is checking whether the URL contains HTTP or HTTPS. So I just want to confirm is that whether we should restrict this check to check only for HTTPS sites, not for HTTP, because that will be more. That should be more preferable, I think.
Right. It is good to restrict the protocol to have that field validation enforce a requirement that either HTTP or HTTPS is present, those being the only two protocols that are currently supported. There are older open issues to support generating gRPC, TCP, and NATS traffic for the load generators that we have. Some of them are capable of generating those types of load. For example, Fortio is capable of generating gRPC load. and we would like to support that, that's actually going to change so to answer your question, eventually what we will probably end up having is more of a radio button that someone would first choose what protocol it is that they're looking to.
We can do that.
Yeah. And even at that, like the field validation that you've done is probably still highly applicable, because it's still the case that even though someone were to select HTTP as a radio, as a choice, we're still going to have to figure out if they're giving a valid URL. So on that, we're at time. Does anyone have something urgent? We're actually slightly over time.
Sure. Your voice is breaking, Nikhil.
But Nikhil, it is kind of funny because you almost sound like a chipmunk sometimes, because your voice comes through so fast. So I can't believe I just called you a chipmunk on the call. But anyway, with that, we're over time, and I want to respect everybody. I know other people have got other meetings and things, so very pleased to see all of you. This is very nice. We'll catch you on Friday for the community call, which maybe, I think just from Michael, the community call is a little bit of a different format where we talk about things more broadly. So probably I would expect we'll talk about like SMI conformance and stuff like that there as well. But Michael, I'm only saying that just to let you know that it gets even more interesting than it was today. So
It's good. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It is interesting. It was interesting. Very good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Anita, very nice to see you today with your video. That was good. All right. That's it. I think we're out of here. It's a wrap. See you guys soon.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye.